Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today I thought I'd show you my Japan travel journal from my trip to Japan last year. I used the Midori Spiral Ring Notebook Camel A5 and I actually ended up using two because I didn't really want to get it too bulky, but I think in the end I could have actually put it in one, but I didn't know, and I don't really mind that I have two now. I really like the look of them. This is part one and this is part two. So let's start with part one. On the front I have a postcard which shows Dejima, which used to be a Dutch trading post in Japan. So let's open it up. On the left here I have my flight ticket from Düsseldorf to Tokyo. It has some personal information on there, so that's why I'm covering it up. These are the characters for Japan in Japanese and Japanese flag, of course, and the dates for our traveling. So on the next page I painted a map of Japan. It's quite simple, but I do really like the way it looks, especially on this kind of brown paper. I really like that it isn't white. I didn't put in all the major cities, just the cities that we visited, so Nagasaki, Beppu, Fukuoka, Hiroshima, Matsuyama, Kyoto, Nara, Tokyo and Nikko. Well, in Nara and Nikko we actually didn't stay the night, but we just went there for a day, but I did put them in anyway. So as you can see, we only travelled this part of Japan. I would have at some point really liked to visit Hokkaido as well, because I've heard it's really beautiful. On the left here I have just some information about the flights, like what time they were leaving and the flight numbers. So yeah, just useful information. And this is also just useful information. These are useful Japanese sentences and yeah, some words that I can use. I got these from a video just talking about useful sentences when you go traveling to Japan. Here's some more sentences, and I put in hiragana and katakana because before I left for Japan I actually already learned these characters, but it was really useful to have these with me because it's so easy to forget. Like with other languages it sticks much better in my brain. Japanese characters do not. But yeah, especially the katakana was really useful to have because a lot of foreign words in Japan are actually written in katakana, so words like hotel are written hoteru or restaurant restoran. So I could actually look up, like at the floor plan of a mall for example, I could just read the word restaurant in katakana, so that was really useful actually. So if you want to learn just like a tiny bit of Japanese to get around, I would probably suggest learning katakana before you leave. So yeah, this is where actually all the entries for the dates start. I wrote all the names of the dates I wrote in Japanese because that's what I had just learned before I left, so I thought it would be fun. And here is a train ticket from Düsseldorf, the train station to the airport. And this is some flight information, like some safety rules from the plane. And this is a Japanese character, which means stop. And I wrote down a few characters throughout my notebook. They were all characters that I learned on my trip really, because I didn't really know lots of kanji before I left, but I did learn some, which was really nice because you start to see them so often in certain contexts that you kind of start to figure out what they mean, and I really like seeing that. This again is another flight ticket on the right because we started our trip in Fukuoka, but because we were quite late with booking it, we couldn't get a direct flight from either the Netherlands or Germany to Fukuoka, so we first flew to Tokyo and then to Fukuoka, so that's the ticket here. Here on the right is a ticket for a Japanese garden. I think we only visited 2 or 3, and I would have actually liked to visit a bit more. We did visit a ton of temples and shrines and such, but we visited actually so many that I could hardly remember. Like, I can hardly keep them apart in my head. They've just kind of all jumbled together. So this is the layout of the garden. It's really nice. This is one of the first shrines we visited, and I actually wrote a bit about Shintoism because before leaving for Japan I actually hardly knew anything about Shintoism. I just knew like it had to do something with nature, and that was basically the extent of it. But yeah, I just wrote a bit about that, and I drew a torii here. And oh yeah, this is a fortune thingy but that I got at the shrine, but it's, yeah, my fortune was fairly good and had some weird things on it. Date, an illicit love will ruin you. Love, seek pure love, don't have affairs. Marriage, trust your matchmaker, you'll get a good partner. Yeah, just, it's funny, but I don't really believe in that. This is a map of Fukuoka. I think it's still Fukuoka at least. Yeah, here some more characters. This means exit. This is a folder of a town that we visited, Imari. This is from a Dutch trading post that we visited, and it was quite funny because there was a museum there, and like some of the people at the museum were actually wearing Dutch traditional clothing, so that was really funny to see. Yeah, another sort of garden we visited, Glover Garden. This is, it says ropue or something like that. It's like a, what do you call it in English? Like, it's a roping way, is that ropeway? Ropeway? Is that what you call it? Like, anyway, like one of those things that like one of those little boxes you go into and it's on a cable and it brings you to the top of the mountain. I think it might be called just a ropeway. I guess probably because that's what the katakana here says, but I can't really remember. This is from Dejima, which was also on the front of my book. And yeah, here you could actually collect a few stamps, and I found out that if a lot of museums in Japan actually had places like this where you could get stamps, and I wish I really would have known that before, because then I would have brought my travel journal with me more often so I could have collected more, but I did collect a few in the end. Yeah, this is from the Nagasaki Atomic Bomb Museum. Of course, we also visited that, and we visited the museum in Hiroshima as well. Here is another Japanese character, eki, which means station. I knew the word for station in hiragana before I left, but just not the kanji, the character. This is a train ticket. I collected quite a few because we travelled to each city with the Shinkansen, the bullet train, which was really nice and very efficient, and it's just really nice how organised it was and how everyone would just wait in line before getting into the train, because in the Netherlands trains are just chaos when everyone wants to get in. This was from some natural pools we visited, and they also had a stamp there which I got, but as you can see I didn't like directly put it in my journal. This is some other characters, which mean train. More train tickets, and this is a crane bird. I didn't make this one myself, I know how to do it, but this one is actually one that was left in a hotel room by the hotel staff, which was really nice. Yeah, this is from the Hiroshima Museum about the atomic bomb. And Hiroshima Castle. Here I didn't really collect a lot of stuff on like the trip itself. This is just a postcard I bought later because me, my brother and two other guys went to Mount Fuji, and we stayed overnight on the mountain, and like at 2 in the morning or something, like I don't remember exactly, but it was really early while it was still dark. We'd only slept for a few hours actually, and then we went up to the top of the mountain to see the sunrise, and it was just such a cool experience because everyone that was staying at the kind of like place we were staying the night, I don't really know how to call it, was just kind of like a hut really. Well, everyone that was staying there kind of went to the top at the same time, so it was completely dark, but everyone was wearing headlights, so you could see this kind of trail of lights going up to the top of the mountain, which was really nice. So yeah, I didn't collect much to stick in here. Matsuyama Castle, which was like a samurai place, so they showed a lot of cool samurai clothing and weapons and all that stuff. Some more train tickets. This was a really cool place. You weren't allowed to photograph here, but I got a postcard later on. They had a lot of statues from a god. I think it was called Avalokitesvaras. I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce it, but that's sort of how our guide called it. And according to him, there were supposed to be 1,001 statues here. Here's something else that I learned on my trip in Japan. Tomarimasu. This is what's it's like on a sign in the bus when somebody pushes the stop button, then this lights up. So that's how I learned that one. This is a ticket from a place that was called the Golden Pavilion. I'm pretty sure that this one is the Golden Pavilion because we also visited something like the Silver Pavilion or a different color. But yeah, the tickets look really alike, and well, my Japanese isn't great, so I wasn't sure, but I think this is a character for gold, but I'm not entirely sure. This is a place that had a Zen garden, and yeah, it was nice to see, but we stayed there quite a while just sitting looking at the garden, and I don't know, it just didn't really do anything for me, I guess, but it was nice to have seen it. So yeah, these are the last pages of this part of my travel journal, and as you can see, I collected a few stamps. I can't really remember which one this one is from. I think maybe like the temple with the Zen garden. This is Hiroshima Castle, and this is from the atomic bomb memorial site. I think it's Hiroshima. And this one I have absolutely no clue what that one is. So let's get to the second part. So here I also posted a postcard on the front. This is a famous Japanese illustration. So here on the left is the Japan Rail Pass that we used throughout the 3 weeks that we were there. We could travel for 14 days with this pass, but again, it has my passport number and all such details on it, so that's why I'm covering it. Another Torii. Yeah, this is the other ticket that I mentioned before that looks really like the other one. I think this is from like the Silver Pavilion. I think that's what it was called. Yeah, at least in Dutch I wrote down that it's called the Silver Pavilion. Here's some more characters. I think this is probably the name for the town Nara, because I think this character means city, but another character for the word book, hon. I actually wrote down the pronunciation in hiragana here. Ocha, which means green tea. I wrote this down after a tea ceremony, and this is kind of like a ritual like what the people from the tea ceremony taught us what to say, and I wrote it down in hiragana. Osaki ni dozo, itadakimasu, dozo, goisho ni. I probably pronounced that last one a bit weird, but I'm not entirely sure. It sounds a bit strange though, I'm not entirely sure that's how the people from the ceremony pronounced it, but yeah. More information of temple, I think, and another train ticket. This is from kind of an event we went to at a temple. We went to a temple where there were all kinds of like performances, kind of traditional Japanese entertainment, so like forms of theatre and music and that kind of thing. The theatre ones were, yeah, it wasn't really interesting to me personally because I don't speak a lot of Japanese, so I couldn't really understand much, and yeah, it was a bit boring for me because I had no clue what was going on. The music was really nice. There was a group that had drums and they were just really good. It was really nice to see. This is from the Tokyo National Museum that we visited. So that's like the last few days of our trip because we traveled basically from Fukuoka to Tokyo and stopped at some cities in between. With a train ticket. And this was a place where there were a lot of these kind of statues that had like knitted heads on. I don't know, it was really interesting. Yeah, this is the last stuff that I actually wrote. The last few pages are just things that I'd left over and I wanted to stick in here. So a map of the Tokyo like subway and such. This is about a Japanese ryokan, how to use it. I didn't actually go to one, but I did collect it. Yeah, and some more, like another folder, and I actually already pasted this one and this one in somewhere else, but apparently I forgot. I also pasted in this one in somewhere else as well. And this last page, this is from the tea ceremony again, where the host was explaining to us how you could read Japanese from the top downwards and then from right to left, or instead just from left to right, like the Western way of reading, I guess. So these were my travel journals for Japan. I'm quite happy with how they turned out. I do tend to write quite a bit, which takes a really long time. I would have liked to draw a bit more and just be a bit more creative with it, but yeah, on the trip itself I find it hard to really find time for that, so I end up doing a lot of those things at home. But when I get home, then I don't really feel like working on it anymore because my trip is already over. But I did actually manage to finish this one. I started it while traveling, but I finished it at home and did eventually finish it, so I'm really happy with it because I also have a lot of travel journals that aren't finished. But yeah, I'm really glad with this one. And that was it for today basically. Hope you enjoyed this video and maybe I'll see you next time. Bye!